Hey, let's try and answer this question. Are there different types of data? Hopefully you remember from our last video, data is just simply information that you collect. You might collect it through a survey or doing some observations. The information that you collect is called data. Now, think about it. If you did a survey, what kind of answers might you get? Well, it could be split into two different types of answers. There could be answers that are words, and there could be answers that are numbers. So we've got our first main two categories of data. Data can be words or numbers. Now, if it's words, we call it categorical data. If it's numbers, we call it numerical data, or there is another fancy word you might see, quantitative data. So we'll stick with numerical, but you might come across this one here. All right, we've split it into those two things, but each one of those we can actually split into two as well. So in our categorical data, we can have words that are nominal or ordinal. So let's go through and explain what we mean by those terms. Nominal simply means words that have no order. There's no progression to them. One doesn't logically come after the other one. So an example might be eye color. Right? If you're doing a survey of people's eye colors, maybe brown, blue, hazel, there's no order to those. They're just words. There's no, like, one doesn't come before the other. Or suburbs, where you live, there's no order to it. They're just individual words, and we call them categorical nominal because they're words, so they're categorical data, and they have no order, so they're nominal. So we would say that data is categorical nominal. Ordinal, though, is words that actually have some kind of order to them. For example, you might be doing a customer satisfaction survey, and you might be asking people to rate, was the service poor, average, good, or great? But you see how there's some kind of progression there? Like average is kind of better than poor, good is better than average, great is better than good. They infer some kind of a progress or along a scale. So we call them, here's another example, first, second, third. Okay, they are words, but they have an order. We know that this one comes before this one, which comes before this one. So they're categorical, and they're ordinal because they've got an order. So we would say that kind of data is categorical ordinal. All right, let's have a look over at the numbers. They kind of reflect the same ideas. Okay, we've got over here words that have no order. We can have numbers that have no real order. They're just individual numbers, and we call them discrete. Okay, so they're like single standalone values. They're not part of a sort of a scale. They're just a number. They're usually whole numbers. So an example here might be if you were doing a survey and you ask people how many children they have. You know, some people might say 2, some people might say 4, 3, whatever. They're just, each score is its standalone individual number. So we would say that they are numerical discrete. It's numerical data, and it has no real order to it. They're just individual numbers, numerical discrete. Well, the last one, just like we had words that have an order, we can have numbers that kind of have an order, and we call them continuous. And these are probably I think the numbers are the harder ones to understand than the words, because let's have a look. Numerical continuous data is numbers kind of along a range. So the best way is to look at an example. Heights. 1.52 is shorter than 1.57, which is shorter than 1.63. You can see that first of all, they're not whole numbers, they're decimals, and they kind of go along a scale. I could put a score anywhere in between there, and it would make sense to me because I would know it sits between those, unlike something like this here. Okay, we call them numerical continuous data. Okay, so that's it. Basically, we've got our 4 types of data. We can split it into words or numbers, and then each one of those can be split into these 2 categories. Now, if you're doing this in class, here's the moment where I'd like you to pause, copy down everything that's on the screen, because in a couple of seconds, we're going to have a look at a couple of practice questions for you to have a go at. All right, here are your practice questions. Have a go at them. Copy them down into your notebook, and just do the best that you can. And in a couple of seconds, I'm going to put up the solutions. So if you're doing this work now, pause, have a go at these in your book, and in a couple of seconds, we'll put up the solutions for you. And there are your solutions. Okay, go through, have a look, see how you went. If there's stuff that you got wrong and you don't know why you got it wrong, grab your teacher, have a bit of a chat, and try and figure out what went wrong. All right, guys, good job. Well done.